Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Code X podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Sonny Kruger. I'm joined by my co host for today, Dan Kelly.
What's going on, everyone? Great to be back again.
Glad to have you back, Dan. And today we will be reviewing your pick of the New Warriors Forever Yesterday.
Yes.
Also, we'll be having the usual schedule of the F list, random panel of the week, variant insanity, some comic book news. Today, I'm right or wrong. It will be you who chooses the 5 statements we talk about. And of course, like I said, we'll start us off with the comic book news slash the rundown. Penguin's a woman. In Batman the Cape Crusader, Mini actress Minnie Driver is playing the Penguin. It's got some people doing a bit of talking about it. But also, one thing that has a lot of people talking is Roy Thomas has been getting a lot of people angry, hence why today's episode is called Why Everyone's Hating on Roy Thomas, as he was saying that, he was giving credit in Deadpool and Wolverine. He was giving credit as being one of the creators of Wolverine, and he was saying his name should be first. And a lot of people were commenting about it and how mad they are. Even some big names in the comic book industry were saying, too, how they are mad. But another thing that has a lot of people mad is that Colin Kaepernick, yes, this is a comic book show, and we're talking about comic books, and actually, Colin Kaepernick does have something to do with comic books, and that is that he raised $4 million to he raised $4 million for his company that helps create AI comic books called Lumi. And again, quite a few people are mad about that.
Hello, Richard.
Hello, Richard.
Thank you for joining
And
us.
thank you, everyone, for joining us. And everyone, feel free to comment on what you think about all these things we're talking about throughout the episode. Feel free to let us know what you think about Penguin being a woman in Batman the Cape Crusader, Roy Thomas is, as you say, his self destruction, and Colin Kaepernick raising $4 million for his AI comic book company, Lumi. Dan, where would you like to start off on? What's got you going today?
I say we start at the top and just work our way down. You mentioned the Batman with Cape Crusader. I have not
Yes.
watched the whole series. I watched the first episode and about, I don't know, maybe a third of the second episode. I haven't had a chance to watch it. So yeah, the Penguin is now a woman. Is also a mother of two. Um, Commissioner Gordon and Barbara are both black. Barbara is a lawyer. Harvey Bullock is a bad cop, like a cop on the take. There's just a lot of changes. Just
Harley Quinn too, right?
I didn't. I've she hasn't been in the first episode that
Okay.
I watched. So right off the bat, it's like there's a lot of changes here, and at least one episode in, I don't really see the point of making these changes because they didn't really do anything to address, oh, we made the Penguin a woman and here's the new dynamic. We made Gordon and Barbara black and here's how it affects the story differently. None of the changes, at least in the first episode they made, had any effect on the story. So the way I look at it is, well, if it doesn't have an effect on the story, then why bother to change it? Also, like, Alfred is much like he was when he first introduced, fat, and Bruce doesn't call him Alfred; he calls him Pennyworth. But a couple spoilers on here, so earplugs if you haven't watched the episode yet. Have you watched it, Sonny?
I have not watched it. You can go ahead and talk. I mean, I've been obviously seeing things and reading things about it. So,
Well, it shows that Penguin is now a woman, as you said, voiced by Minnie Driver. The Iceberg Lounge is a boat, a big yacht in Gotham Harbor, and you're introduced to her by she's singing, singing a number in it, and then you are introduced to her two sons, one of which she promptly murders her two adult sons because she thinks that he's snitching on her. So she has her big goon basically put a bag over his head, lock him in a steamer trunk, push him in the water, and he's just dead. And then come to find out it's the other son that was snitching on her, not that one. And later when it's brought to her attention, she shows no remorse, or, oh my God, I killed the wrong one. No remorse for that, and immediately tries killing the other son. So I'm like, I don't really get what the whole point of all of that was. The aesthetic, it's very much like it was in Batman the Animated Series, animation wise, and the kind of aesthetic for how the design work is and the characters and in the city. It's not clear, at least at first, what time period it takes place in. It's kind of, with some of the dialogue and the design, it feels like it's in the, like in the 40s.
It looks a lot older. Like you said, the characters, some of their clothes wise, does look like they'd
Yeah.
be like in the 40s. So I was gonna ask and see about that.
Yeah, and like one thing, Penguin says at one point, she's like 22 skidoo, and I was like, wow, that is old. But it never really comes out and says this is it. The plot of the first episode is all these buildings in Gotham are blowing up, and no one knows how. And then it turns out that the Penguin's got this cannon on her boat that she's firing off and blowing up these buildings. And it was just one thing that seemed weird to me is Batman shows up, he's fighting her. He gets her away from the cannon, and then as they're fighting, he throws her, and she lands right in front of the cannon so she can fire it off again. I'm like, if you're trying to keep her from shooting this cannon, why are you throwing her at the
With
cannon?
the cannon.
Like, that's dumb.
Yeah, not
Bad
too
storytelling.
smart. Yeah.
So the first episode in, for me, it was a mixed bag. I'm a huge Batman fan, so I'll certainly watch at least a few more episodes and see how it goes. The few minutes I watched of the second episode, Clayface is going to be, the villain of that one. So, we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, because even to like that, yeah, I really like Batman, especially the animated series. So I do still
Yeah.
want to check it out. Like I said, I know there's some changes, but I'm like, I'll still have to check it out myself. One thing Minnie Driver did say was she had said, the penguin that Bruce has imagined for me is properly evil. She skims the depths of human depravity in what she does. She's also a rather large than life, kind of burlesque cabaret singer in her spare time, which I think is always good for a villain. Her alter ego is a kind of Mae West type burlesque singer. It's strange and beautiful and oddly fitting. That's what Minnie Driver had to say.
I mean, she doesn't look like Mae West the way they drew her.
Well, as I say, Penguin. I
She
saw a
looks like
picture.
she looks like the Penguin with boobs.
Yeah, and lipstick on.
Yeah,
So
like she
not
even got the big penguin nose, and
yeah. I just thought when I first saw the image, I just thought like, oh, they're making Penguin like he just wears lipstick now. But then it's like, okay, the Penguin is a woman now.
yeah.
And I was wondering too, because I see that also Christina Ricci's gonna voice it, or she does voice in there, and that Hamish Linklater is the actor who voices Batman. Now he's a great actor. He especially I know he was in Legion. I remember watching that, and then Midnight Mass. I thought he was really good in that show. So I'm
Oh, that's
curious.
such a good show.
Yeah,
And the twist when you in that show, not to spoil that for anyone, the twist when you get to the end and you find out what's going on, you're like, oh, it's so good.
amazing show. I definitely recommend it.
What's up,
Wes?
Wes?
Wes, hey Wes.
Rebel scum in the house.
Yeah, but I was curious as to how you think Hamish is doing as Batman.
I liked how he did the Batman voice. Yeah, it definitely has. Of course, I think like anyone now, not just for animated series, but just Batman in general. At least for me, it's going to be all right. How does this compare to Kevin Conroy? And
Yeah.
it reminds me. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it does remind me, a bit of Kevin Conroy's Batman voice. That's not the same, and it's not Conroy because I don't think anybody's ever going to do as good a job as he did with it. But it's kind of in that, in that tone that he does it.
Still like Kevin Conroy will always be, for me, I think the voice I'll always makes him is Batman, but I could see Amish is doing a good job in his own right, taking on, being the Caped Crusader. But I think it's time we move on to Roy Thomas.
Ooh.
House Roy being House Roy, as some people were saying.
Yeah. So now look, for anyone who doesn't know Roy Thomas is, I don't know how you've stumbled across this station or watching this and have not stumbled across the name Roy Thomas. He was Marvel for decades, Stan Lee's right-hand man, was editor-in-chief for a while, created a bunch of characters, wrote a lot, wrote for DC too, was very instrumental in the Golden Age characters for DC. Also had a tendency to to write some stories that probably didn't need to be written, like how it was in 2022. He wrote a story to explain how Wolverine's mask changed from his appearance in Hulk to giant size X-Men. It's like, did anybody really need that story just to, just for that? Or like he wrote Invaders, and he wrote in the Invaders Annual just to explain how Namor's trunks changed in like one story from the Golden Age, how his trunks changed from like one style to another. It's like,
Finally, I gotta get that. I gotta get that one. How much is that one? I need to know
like,
about
is that a
Nemours
story
underwear change.
Yeah, is that one that we really need? But still, Roy Thomas, it's legendary creator in the comic community with good reason. But the stuff with Wolverine is just
so
it's not a good look.
Yeah, so that his name in Deadpool Wolverine, he was credited as one of the creators of Wolverine, but that he had said in a comment with the Hollywood Reporter that he felt his name should have been first, and then he mentions in there that he says he had come up with a lot of things for Wolverine, like where his race and his stature and how he is, and his
So
name.
here I got the quotes. Here is exactly what he says. He said on Logan, he says, "Oh sure, I strongly feel my name should have come first, not last." In the Wolverine grouping, since the Wolverine character was my concept on which Len and the others built. That's what he said about that. And then for his contribution to it, he wrote, and this was an article, this was not an interview with him in the Hollywood Reporter. This was an article he wrote, so it's all his own words. So there's no way that anybody could come and say, oh, well, this was misconstrued. It's all him. He wrote, I'm especially pleased that just as I have importuned them to do at every opportunity I have ever had, even if they did so for their own good reasons, not because of my suggestions, Marvel decided to add the name of Herb Trimpe to the mix. For anyone that doesn't know, Herb Trimpe was the artist on Hulk 180 and 181 when Wolverine was created. Len Wein was the writer. John Romita Sr. was the one that actually designed Wolverine's costume. And then Roy Thomas was the editor of the book at the time. He said, taking Romita's two-figure concept sketch and turning it into a 20-page story and superhero battle in the Incredible Hulk number 181 was every bit as important as Len and this is where his crux of his argument comes from. Was every bit as important as Len taking my original requirements as to name, nationality, small stature, and fierce disposition, and turning out that first story, inventively adding the Weapon X complex, Wolverine being a mutant, and the notion that his Romita-devised claws were made of adamantium, a little metal I tossed into an earlier Avengers comic. So adamantium was something that had been mentioned in the Marvel Universe, as he said previously, that was in an issue of Avengers that he had done a year or two before. So that's the crux of his argument, that why he should be, he doesn't explain why he thinks his name should be first, I guess because he gave those criteria to Len Wein. So I guess that would be that, why he thinks his name should be first, but that is his reasoning for why he thinks he should be listed as Wolverine's co-creator, which Marvel has acquiesced to. And funny enough, this is all coming out because he wrote this article and being a big deal now with all these comic creators. But Marvel acknowledged him as a co-creator of Wolverine years ago. So
yeah, and then I think he was somewhere in there that he said that Logan, that they only gave him a thanks. That he said, "Oh, they only gave me a thanks, not."
Well, I think that was for, but they did that for like all the creators for Wolverine that have ever worked on. They just said thanks to all of them.
Yeah.
But I don't think they gave a created by thing. But when we did the Wolverine episode for Comic Character of the Week and the revisit episode on both of them, I went back and looked, and sure enough, when I was doing my research for him, it listed Roy Thomas, Len Wein, and John Romita Sr. as creators of Wolverine, because that's how it is that Marvel acknowledges it at this point. Like I said, they started acknowledging that a couple years ago. So I guess it's up for debate for other people if they think that he hello.
Yeah. Hey, Svan82 says hello from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Met y'all at FarleyCon. Tim, who was definitely at FarleyCon, would have been on today, but he got sick at FarleyCon. So I
But
hope
the
you're
video
not
for
getting sick of
FarleyCon
Tim.
is up on our up on the YouTube page now.
Yeah, so check out the video of Tim and Wes at FarleyCon. Yeah.
Welcome,
Hey,
Bougie. And
Bougie.
what is it? Tim always says, never late, always on time.
Yeah, so there you go. Right now, in case you are just joining us, yeah, we're talking about Roy Thomas and him wanting to have his name mentioned first as
So
a
what do
as
you
one of the
think?
co-creators. In the beginning, like first reading his thing, like because you kind of hard to say who has to be first. Like I don't know why he needed like his name to be first, but then one thing
I
is a
mean,
lot of
that
people
is
are
that
saying,
to me is just a bit of arrogance there. Like I should be the first one on there. Like that. I mean, come on, man.
and then
But
later,
what
yeah,
do you think about, how do you feel about his claims that he should be considered a co-creator of Wolverine?
when he mentions, oh, that he came up with if you came up with the idea and you said stature and race and this and that, then I'd say yeah. But a lot of people are saying, oh, he waited 50 years to say this. He waited till everybody else was dead, so they can't really argue his point that it is like, why did you wait until everyone was dead, then to say, hey, I came up with this idea, that idea, and that idea.
I
Who
didn't
knows
I
the
don't
truth?
know I don't know if he always said specifically what he came up with for it, but I know that he's been claiming since the 80s that he should be given a co-creator credit for it for the character. So that's nothing new. And like I said, Marvel, I forget what year, but a couple years ago, Marvel did start acknowledging him as a co-creator. Um,
Yeah, I
but
guess it comes down to if he really did say those things, if he really came up with the ideas. I mean, I wasn't,
yeah, and it's hard.
obviously, we were not there to know. We weren't in that room to say, oh, I know he was coming up with this idea or he just stayed quiet.
Yeah, and I think that's the crux of it is, this is what he says he told Len Wein, and then Len Wein went off and ran with it. But again, with Len Wein and Ramita and Trimpe, with all of them having died, there's no one to dispute. Well, no, he didn't come up. He didn't say that. He did this. And, what other people are saying is, the editors, sometimes the editors will give suggestions to the creative teams on a book, but it doesn't mean that they should then get credit for the creation of those characters. So I don't know. I mean, if he really did, for me, if he really did suggest all the things that he said in this, which was that he said, um, name him Wolverine, make him Canadian, make him short, make him mean. I mean, some pretty that's some pretty specific stuff, as opposed to if you just went to a writer and said, hey, I want you to create a magic character for the next issue, and then they create Doctor Strange. Well, that's not that specific. So I don't know. I'm torn on it.
Yeah, like if he said those things, then I would say yes, give him the credit. If not, then no. I see even Doug is in the comments. Yeah.
Well, he wasn't even editor in chief at the time. He was the editor of the Hulk book. And those are what he said that he told Len Wein to do. But again, I think that's also what other people are saying is like, they're gone now. They can't
Can't argue,
say
yeah.
whether that's what you actually did or not.
Yeah, but a lot of people were speaking. A lot of people were pretty angry. Like, for instance, Jim Valentino said Roy has so many genuine credits to his name. This is just heartbreaking. And then Mark Beltran said, Beltran said, I think that guy John Cinemo, who is the manager of Roy,
Yeah.
is manipulating Roy like those handlers did with Stan Lee. When talentless hacks manipulate creative people, especially when they see money, it's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. And I mean, Rob Liefeld spoke out against it, which, I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of credibility himself with some of his claims, but that is a big name in the community. Mark Wade,
Yeah,
Gail
Mark Wade was not
Simone.
happy. Mark Wade was swearing about it too. Yeah.
Yeah, Gail Simone. Like there's a lot of big name creators that are speaking out against him.
Yeah. Gail Simone said, in case you were wondering, I am 100% team Len Wein, Christine Velada. No, 1000%. And Christine is the widow of Len Wein.
Yes, she's Len Wein's widow.
Yeah. And Heidi McDonald said, give me a break.
Welcome, Pam.
And Hello, and yeah, there was many,
Manny.
many people talking about it. Yeah, even too, a lot of people were saying that there's a appreciation, a Roy Thomas appreciation group, and a lot of people were saying, "I'm leaving this group now. I'm done with this." So yeah, not too good. But he says, yeah, he's already a name in comics, and yeah, he is. So one thing that does make me wonder, especially because Roy has created plenty of other great characters, that why if you didn't have anything to do, if you barely had anything to do with Wolverine, why would you be like, no, no, put my name on it? Especially if you have these other good characters under your belt. But I guess Wolverine is, for me, one of the all time greats, one of my favorites, as you can see. So
Yeah, for me,
yeah,
like I said, it's without knowing, without hearing from Len Wein or Ramita or Trimpy how much on how much Thomas actually had input into the creation of the character. If he just says create, a little mean Canadian for them to fight, that's one thing. But if he
yeah,
says
that could have been Puck.
he's short, he's Canadian, he's mean, his name is Wolverine, like the more details that you give, then the closer you get to to a co-creator credit. So for me, I just don't know.
Yeah, it depends on what the actual truth is. But speaking of creating comic books, we're talking about how Colin Kaepernick has his AI comic book company Lumi and raised $4 million for it. And on the on the comic character of the day page on Facebook, I believe you posted or someone posted the article, and there was quite a bit of a
Yeah.
conversation in the comments, and most people were very against it. Actually, Tone, who was with the Codex Station before, did make a good point, more kind of in defense, and he said that he believed more of that people, as soon as they hear Colin Kaepernick, were pretty much just jumping against without actually looking into it. Now, Dan is an artist. I'm curious as to what you think about this.
I am wholeheartedly against it. Um, I if you are an AI artist, you're not an artist.
Because you just
You know,
typed in words and the AI did
any
the artwork.
yeah, that's just like if you're an AI writer, you're not a writer. You're not doing
Yeah.
anything creative. Anybody, and people say like, well, well, they have to come up with the prompts or this and that. Anybody that is literate can type into a prompt generator Superman flying through the air of Superman flying through the city of Metropolis, chasing Lex Luthor. Anybody could type up
Yeah.
something basic like that, hit the generate button, and whatever comes out comes out. And to say, oh, I created this artwork, I mean, in the most basic sense of it, but you didn't draw it, you didn't paint it, you
Yeah.
didn't sketch it or etch it or carve it or anything. AI doesn't create anything on its own. It takes whatever these prompts people put in, and then it just goes and scours the internet for, in the case of artists, for other artists, for writers, for other writing that fits in with what the person wants, and then it spits out something. And then so to claim that as your work, I mean, it's not your work. There's this cheap AI thing that's called like Leonardo or something. I've used that a couple of times in the past if I've been stuck on something, but I've never taken anything from it and then claimed it as my own. I've just used it for if I'm drawing at something and I'm trying to think like what would be a good background. I'll like write Flash, Spider-Man swinging through a city, and then it'll dump some images, and 99% of the time they're absolute garbage. But I'll be able to see stuff in the background like, oh, the way those buildings are. Yeah, that kind of gives me an idea to do this. The same way as I use it the same way as if I would go on Google and type in, like cityscape, so I can look and see like, okay, I kind of like the design of these buildings, but I still have to sit down and draw it.
Yeah. For me, that's it, we're pretty much on the same page, I believe. Yep. Even Boucher says, right, Dan, AI is not any kind of form of art. And I'm with you. Like I said, I think it's okay to use AI stuff more just for inspiration. Like, let's say, for me, writing, right? I have to write, but let's say I'm like, okay, I want to draw something or something like that, or I need some kind of artwork. And I don't want to keep having someone, hey, do this. Hey, do it again. Actually, I want this a little bit changed. I think it'd be fine to use it just to say, here's something similar to what I would like. as opposed to me, but I wouldn't consider it mine. If I typed in something and then it comes up with this picture, I want to say, look at this, look at the artwork I made. No, I think it's fine if you say, this is like, if you use it to show somebody else, this is something as an example. This is kind of how I would like my vision to be, and then to the writing thing, I love to write. So I don't get how people would want to
Yeah,
have AI
same thing
write
with
for them.
me. You know,
Yeah,
like
I
I
love
mean,
to do it. The writing is the fun part. I can only see it like as for fun wise. If someone just, hey, let me just type in and just see the silly thing that AI comes up with, but I would never feel proud to type something in and AI writes a whole story and be like, this is mine. I
I
don't
mean, with
see
the
how people can
AI,
want it.
the art too. I always put it in things like that. It all looks the same too. I see these AI, quote unquote artists on Instagram, and I've seen them their comments where they like, "Oh, I did this in my style." Like it all looks the same. It all
Yeah.
looks like this just soulless junk and characters with six fingers, like
Yes.
like the villain from Princess Bride.
I love there's a meme, and yeah, see, Pam even hates AI art as well.
I have to move to 3D print over hand sculpture. Aren't happy about it, but just kidding. Yeah, I mean it's
I guess 3D print kind of goes faster too.
yeah.
Still agrees with us. But one thing I was gonna say with the AI art, especially how you said the hands, I love it's like AI doing a handshake after it gets the deal, and it shows all the craziness
Oh
of
yeah.
AI trying to shake each other's hands. They said 13 fingers on each hand, a hand holding a hand to connect to the other hand. That's one
What's
thing
the
I'm surprised
what's
that
the
they
line?
still
It's like
can't get
from
it right.
Sweet Caroline, the song Sweet Caroline, where he's like
Yeah.
hands touching hands. It's like it's just it's just like a horror show with some of the stuff it comes with.
Yeah.
Where then for Colin Kaepernick, whatever you think about him, whatever your views are on his protests and and everything with him in the NFL, like he is a big name, and for him to back this lends credibility to it for people outside of the comic community. And when you read his quotes about it, like you would say, he's trying to take the gatekeepers out. Like, you mean the people that actually work to really create? Like, that's not gatekeeping. That's creating art. And where he said, it's going to empower people where they're not going to need to go to a big comic company where they can do it themselves. Like, I'm sorry, have you not heard of Kickstarter, Indiegogo? Like, you can go and create your own stuff and put it on there and get crowdfunded. You can go on Amazon and on Amazon, and you could just upload something, be like, hey, here's this thing, buy it if you want, or put it for free, or on Wattpad, or
Yeah.
on Facebook. And there's plenty of sites where you could just do it and post it and put it out in the world yourself. You could make your own website and put it out to yourself. So this whole idea of, oh, if you don't have Marvel or DC or Dark Horse or Image, then you can't do this at all. Some of the smaller indie companies have it where you can, if you go to them and be like, hey, I made this comic, and it's fully done, and you give it to them and they're like, yeah, this is pretty good, we'll publish it for you. He's acting, he has this attitude that, like, there's no way that you could create it without this. And that's just absolutely not true.
Yeah. And it's more money in his pocket. Yeah.
Yeah. And think
Who
about
says
it.
Kaepernick wants to take the real artistic talent away?
And I saw people commenting, like, for him being a professional athlete, like, what if they put robots out there and said, oh, you know what? We don't need you to play quarterback anymore. We got this robot that can throw the ball more accurately and throw it further. And we can do that, so we're just not going to need you to be on the team anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, even Seattle says, yeah, I don't think he understands what AI does. Yeah. Like I said, it's the football. Hey, don't just play part of the football game and let the video games play the rest of it for you. Yeah.
And what's frustrating is $4 million is not an insignificant amount of money. Like, he
That could
could
be
be
used for
taking
something way
that
better.
he could be taking that and giving it, to these people that are actually creating real work, and say, like, hey, I'm going to give you this money so that you can afford to take 2 weeks off of your job and work or a month off or whatever and work on creating your book, or give you this money so that you could take what you create and you can, go get it published and printed. Like, there's so much he could do with this money for actual real creators, and then to take it and do this with it, it's an absolute slap in the face to anybody that is trying to actually create something themselves.
And like you even mentioned, like Leonardo and stuff, there's plenty of AI sites already out there that are doing it. It seems like everyone just jumping on it is just like, how can I make a quick buck? Oh, I'll jump on AI stuff. It's
Yeah, and like I said,
insanity.
I've said before, I use that, but it's just been, if I like I said, I've said this many times, I am not good at coming up with backgrounds for my drawings. So that's why I would go on there and type in, like, flash running through a city, or this happening, so I could see something in the background to kind of give me an idea of, all right, yeah, something like that. And then, but I still have to go out and draw it myself. And I don't have a problem with people using AI in that sense of, like we were saying, as a, just as a tool to kind of give them an idea for something that they are then going to go actually create themselves.
Yeah. But Dan, some might say it's all pretty insane. So I say it's time for some variant insanity.
Uh, Wait a minute, I got to find the
Hit
thing.
that music.
Trying to find where the variant insanity is. Oh, here we go.
Right,
Oh,
man. It makes you want to dance. It does. Somebody's always dancing, usually me. All right. Yeah. So this inspiration.
you are our
Well,
inspiration, Sal.
you are. So you gave me the knowledge. You let me know what's going on for this week for variant insanity. Dan, I think you already know. Do you know the comic that has the most variant issues this week?
I'm going to guess that it is which one is it? X-Men or Uncanny? The new X-Men book that came out this week. I'm going to guess it's that one.
Anybody in the comments want to take a guess?
I forget which
All right.
one this week is, if it's Uncanny or just self-titled X-Men.
I'll give you a countdown of 10, 9, 8. Feel free to put it in the comments what you think is the most. And the comic book this week with the most variants is The Uncanny X-Men Volume 6, issue number 1. And there it is. From the Ashes, A New Beginning. And would you like to take a guess of how many variants it has?
I'm going to say 23.
Anybody in the chat want to give a guess? How many variants you think Uncanny X-Men number 1 has? Again, I'll give you a countdown of 10. Bougie says 27. Dan, you said 23, right?
Yes.
Dan, you are one off. It was
Oh,
22 issues. I think that's the closest anyone's come to it, to getting it right. Yeah, Uncanny X-Men Volume 6, issue number 1. Pam's guess was 18. But Uncanny X-Men Volume 6, issue number 1 has 22 variants, 1A to 1V.
and I'll say I had no idea about that. 23 was just a random number that I picked, and I was like, this isn't going to be right at all.
Only one off.
One off.
So close, yet still so far away. But before we get on to some right or wrong, as you see in the chat there, yep, memberships and super chats are now available on YouTube, badges, emojis. You can see our content first and more for only $1, or technically 99 cents a month. Help Codex be the Hulk 180 we always wanted it to be. And with that, now we move on to right or wrong. Oh, yeah, Sal has a bonus question he wanted me to ask, and that's how many. And Sal's question for everyone was
Yes, I was in Krakoa last week. It was nice.
nice dancing Cocoa last week. Yeah,
All right,
how
what's
many
the
variants
bonus
will
question?
Cell have? So since Uncanny X-Men has 22 variants, how many variants will Cell have?
Oof. I'm gonna say a dozen
Dan,
because I figure some of those are gonna be like store variants for like store exclusives here or there.
Dan, once again, you're one off. Sal said he's gonna have 11.
Oh man,
Okay.
oh, so close. You know
Well,
what that means? I'm gonna buy one. I'm gonna buy one more that he doesn't have, and I'm gonna give it to him so that he has 12.
there you go. Yeah. Then you technically we can go back and say actually Dan was right. I thought
Yes.
you were going to say you're going to buy the lottery. I was going to say, Dan, if you buy a lottery ticket today, you're going to be one number off from $1 million.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're one number off, you still win a shitload of money.
I meant like maybe you might be like with the five, you might be like one off, one off.
That would just be cruel.
Yeah. But all right. With these next things, these are statements. It's right or wrong. So technically, you won't be wrong by 1 point or anything like that. One of us will say 5 statements, and the other will just say right or wrong. And after all 5, we discuss them. And today, it is up to you, Dan, to give the 5 statements.
Oh, and it's too bad that Tim isn't on here because this first one I thought of specifically for him.
Dang it, Tim! How do you go and get sick at FarleyCon?
you did Chris Farley wrong.
Tim the Terrible is right.
All right, so I'll start off with it. As everyone knows, the mainstream Marvel universe is the 616 universe. Statement number 1. 616 Spider-Man is a lost cause.
Wrong.
Statement number 2. If everyone in the chat, feel free to leave your comments. I think what we go through all 5, and then we go back and discuss.
Yeah, and then don't forget for you to say right or wrong in the statements too.
Oh, I do. I'm at this point. I'm going to say right for that one. For number 2, we will never see the Punisher's skull logo again in the comics.
Wrong.
I'm going to say wrong as well. Hoping. Number 3. Oh, Bougie says no. I'm guessing that's for the first one. Sal also says that. Number 3. And this goes to, Bougie says right for the second one. Star of Deadpool and Wolverine playing Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman will play Wolverine again.
Right.
I'll say right as well. If
I hope so.
Spoiler alert, cover your ears if you haven't seen it yet, as Ryan Reynolds says to a minute, till you're 90.
Yeah.
Oh man, everybody's saying the Punisher skull is gone. That's disheartening. Number 4, we will never see an interconnected TV universe like the Arrowverse again.
You said we will never see?
Never, you will never see on network TV where they have the Arrowverse, where they had multiple shows that were all interconnected that way. We'll never see something like that again.
I will say wrong.
I'm going to say right for that one. And number 5, company-wide crossover events are now meaningless.
Right.
I'm going to say right on that as well.
For that one, I'm going to say for the time being. I think it could eventually change, but for right now, I say right.
All right, so you want to go back to the first one, the first statement. The 616 Spider-Man, the main universe Spider-Man, is a lost cause. You said, you and everyone else said no. I said at this point, I'll say it for now. At this point, he is, but I just,
for me,
so long.
For me, it's more of I just love Spider-Man so much. I know there's just been so much going on with him, especially Tim will definitely have a field day with this one, but I just would love to see. I'm like, if there's a good enough writer, I think somebody could do Spider-Man justice and make him important again, and not go crazy, not doing this, not the Brand New Day, not the Zeb Wells stuff. I think Spider-Man could I think since he's one of the maybe even the main like face of Marvel, I think he could do it. And
And
Bougie
see,
says 616 Spidey needs redemption. I think he can get it.
that's kind of why I think that he is a lost cause, because it's not writer driven, it's editorial driven for what he is now, for all the stuff since One More Day, and now we have Ultimate Spider-Man, which is the Spider-Man fans have been clamoring for since One More Day. That I just feel like this, they're like, all right, this is what you wanted. You go read that. We're gonna do whatever we want with this Spider-Man, and so that's why I feel at this moment he's a lost cause. I think it would take a lot to fix him.
We shall see, And then with the Punisher, yeah, I said wrong. I think we will, but a lot of people were saying that they think that the Punisher, the skull logo, is done for comic books. I still believe. I think maybe a little while, maybe a few years, but I think that's his logo. It's the Punisher logo. Is the skull. So I think one day it will come back. Maybe a few years from now. Maybe when we
You're
kind
right
of
on that,
forget, it will
Bougie.
come back. Yes, one more. Yes, Bougie, we can't escape one more day.
Yeah, I love the Punisher, so I hope that the skull comes back. I'm going to say that it will. I'm going to say that it will come back when the Daredevil show comes out and John Bernthal is the Punisher in it.
That's a good guess. A good guess. I could see that.
Now, again, I'm going under the assumption that he has the skull in the show as he had it at the end of his show. So,
Okay.
so everyone else here, you were all wrong. Me and Sonny are right.
I really hope so.
The next one, Hugh Jackman will play Wolverine again.
We want to see it. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's inevitable, right? Like I think it's gonna be at least one more time. It's gonna be in one of the Avengers movies.
Yeah. Yeah, Bush. I think someone will. There will always be people. I think nowadays, especially with politics wise, there are some people who are just always going to hate Punisher skull logo. So some people are always going to complain. But hey, people
Well,
are
I
always
think
going to complain about something.
well, it's because the reason they got rid of it was because it was co-opted by all those far right wing groups.
Yeah. So.
But you know what? If all those far right wing groups start putting Superman patches on their, on their stuff, is DC going to take the Superman logo away? You can't let the bastards win.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, Wolverine. I think
Yeah, Wolverine.
Jackman will play him at least one more time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it in Avengers movie.
Yeah, and too, also, I remember after the movie Birdman came out, Hugh Jackman said that watching that made him say that he wanted to play Wolverine until he dies. And, stick
That
on
was
Hugh
a great movie
Jackman.
too.
That is, yeah, very interesting one. I was saying, like, I got to watch that one again. But
That,
yeah, so yeah, I
I
see
love
Hugh
how
Jackman being
I
Wolverine.
love how the movie was like all like essentially one continuous camera shot. I know that there were cuts in it, but they were made so well that you couldn't even tell.
Yeah, a great one. Can't believe how many years ago that one was.
That was a while ago, yeah. You're right. You can't. You're right. We can't let the bastards win. We can't let them take away what we love. Yeah. So we will never see an interconnected TV universe like the Arrowverse again.
I mean, it's a guess. I mean, I could see it not ever doing it like that, but my guess was that okay, I could see it happening again.
I
However,
just
we
don't
shall
think
see.
that I don't think that it will happen on network TV the way that did, because it had Arrow, The Flash, Legends of
Supergirl.
Tomorrow, Supergirl, Batwoman, Black Lightning. Was that all of them? Oh, the Superman and Lois, even though that one actually isn't really connected to it because it takes place in another universe, but it's the same actors. But so that's like what, 6, 7 shows that
Yeah,
were
that is a lot.
all interconnected on network TV. I don't think that anyone will ever attempt that on network TV again. If they do, it's going to be in the movies, maybe, or it'll be in the movies, or it'll be the movies and whatever streaming shows they have. But I don't think that there will be a network TV, a network TV one that's just all of itself, that doesn't touch anything else.
No, I was thinking like, oh, like 4 shows. I forgot how many there are.
Yeah, there were like 7 of them.
Yeah. All right. And then what was the last one again?
Company-wide crossovers are now meaningless.
I mean, I think it's more for fun. Maybe in the future there'll be something that's bigger but
I mean, some of them come out that are decent, but how many of them have actual lasting effects?
yeah.
I mean, you look at Secret Wars, the original one, that had a lasting effect. Crisis on Infinite Earths. Some of these big major ones had lasting effects, and I know those were all a long time ago, but it seems like now the crossover will come out, it'll have an effect that lasts for a couple months, and then it'll just be on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I think they're meaningless in that sense that there's no real stakes in them.
Yeah. But all right, so that was our right or wrong for this week. And next week, I think it is set to be Uncle Gary will give his
Oh,
5
those would be some good
statements.
ones.
Yes, that will be interesting. First, it was Tim, then it was me, and then it was you, and then it will be Uncle Gary next week. And now we move on to our random panel of the week.
You all ready for this? Nothing. Not even a smile.
Oh, I was waiting. I thought it was gonna be. I was waiting for the video to show up, so I was being all calm. But all right, here we go. The thing says, "Didn't they come up with a cure for your kind?" And Wolverine says, "You got a problem with mutants?" And the thing says, "I meant Canadians." So there we go. A little humor, and yeah, the thing. Yeah, we had it in our notes. Is the thing hates Canadians? I don't think he hates Canadians. I just think he's busting Wolverine's chops there. But
Yeah. Maybe he's still mad from when Wolverine slashed his face and he had to wear that bucket on his head for a while.
yeah, it was early '90s, right?
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was when I was in middle school or high school? Sometime around then, sometime early 90s.
Yes, I
But
was very young.
yeah, screw you, Sonny.
I gotta
Yeah,
enjoy it for a little bit.
yeah, I don't think he really hates Canadians. I think he's just busting his chops because they're buddies, and that's what buddies do with each other. I just came back from spending a few days in Canada, and the people there are, for the most part, very lovely, and they do say "a" quite a bit.
Yeah. There we go. It's a random panel of the week. We'll be having more random panels of the week every week. And if you like that, check out once again, Comic Character of the Day, the Facebook page. Dan is posting random panels every day. So we have random panel of the week. They have random panel every single day.
Oh yeah, and there's some really messed up ones coming up too.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to I'm on there every single day.
I've got them already because on Facebook, on pages you can post something and have it scheduled to post in the future up to a month in advance, and I've got them all posted every day for the next month, and I've got more waiting on my phone to put up there too. I've got a lot.
Bougie says, blame Canada. A little bit of South Park for you right there. But right now it's time to get to the F list. And joining the F list today is Oddball. Let's see those pictures. There he is.
I'm Oddball! Oddball!
I wonder who he was talking about when he said like Chuck and he said like the tosser. I don't know. I wonder who the tosser is, but there he is again. Yeah. There he is. He's thinking.
That's the British version of Oddball.
I like this one when he's all excited and then Bombshell's.
Oh, Sonny. You all right? Oh, Sonny froze. Oh, Sonny dropped. Sonny's back.
All right, so now I am back. Okay, because show me that you were gone. Okay, so there he is, and they were throwing a ball off of a guy's head. This is a wise guy, huh? Boom.
I mean, if I had $1 for every time a ball popped on a guy's head.
That's after dark talk, man. and and there he is with a bunch of other villains, and yeah, he's singing as he's juggling the balls. And there he is. You're not familiar with my act? It involves various types of props. We can all assume all his props are balls. And yeah, there he's doing his bomb ball. And he's
I'll
got
say that his costume has given the Flash villain Rainbow Raider a run for his money there.
yeah. So Oddball is Gimme 2 times from the Goodfellas.
All right,
Goodfellas, one of the best movies that came out the year I was born. All right, so
so
Dean, do you know the history of Oddball, or would you like to take a guess at the history of
I
Oddball?
know a little bit of it. I don't remember all of it, so I'll just kind of wing it. So Oddball, um, real name is Jimmy Saskatoon, though he is oddly not from Saskatoon. He is from Winnetoba, and he grew up an unpopular child, but he loved the circus and he loved juggling, and he just would sit around all day and just play with his balls every chance that he could, and just fondle them and juggle them as much as he could. And then his family fell on some hard times, and he had to do something to help the family. So he joined the circus. But then as a juggler, but then the circus did not pay well enough, and he just needed more money. And then so he on one of the stops of the circus, he robbed the bank and he got away with it. But the thrill of it excited him so much that he just needed to do it again. So he so he now I'm trying to think of something good. So he kept going, and he designed himself this garish costume and put all of these brightly colored balls all over it, and he joined the circus of crime, and he became the villainous mastermind that is known as Oddball.
And there we go. Dan, I don't know what was going on with me there. If it looked like I was just still, but I think mine was freezing. I was losing connection a bit.
Yeah, that's when I was talking, and then I saw you frozen. It threw me off track completely. I was like, and crap, what was I saying?
Well, maybe, who knows, maybe Oddball threw a freeze ball my way or something that caused me to freeze. But I'll give you some bit of the history of the man with many balls. That is Hardball. Or Oddball. All right. So,
I'm pretty sure they fought the West Coast Avengers at one point. I do seem to remember reading a West Coast Avengers with them.
he is one of the main, he is somebody who usually fights Hawkeye.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so Oddball's real name is Elton Healy. Like I said, his name is Oddball. He was affiliated with Death Rows, Masters of Evil V, or Masters of Evil 5, I should say, Radically Advanced Ideas in Destruction, and he was a contestant in Bloodsport. All right, his relatives are Elvin Healy, who is his brother. This may surprise everybody, but Oddball is single, and let's see.
Ready to mingle.
Oh yeah, he is, and he's got the balls to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just come on, ladies, play with his balls.
Well, this guy, we found Oddball because back in episode, I got notes today. Back in episode 48 of the Code X podcast, we reviewed Hawkeye, the miniseries, and that is where Oddball made his first appearance in Hawkeye issue number 3. And that right there, where he's throwing the ball off of the guy's head, is from that story. The guy laughed at him. He went to take a hostage, and the guy laughed at him and said, "Oh, what are you going to do? Juggle me to death?" So and he threw one of his hard balls against his head. And yes, here's some of his weapons are considered hard balls. Even Hawkeye said, "I wish I had one of Oddball's hard balls."
Yes, Pam, I did make all of that up, and
Yes.
and I think I was maybe 0.5% to 1% right with what I came up with.
But But Elton and his brother Elvin, they were born in Nevada, and they stood out because they were good at juggling, and they got the attention of Charles Last, who wanted to recruit them for a new gang of costume criminals, the Death Throws. And so yeah, they were part of. He was part of the Death Throws, and like I said, his first time when he first appeared, he was in Hawkeye's miniseries, where he and Bombshell were they were hired by Crossfire to kidnap Hawkeye and Mockingbird, and that's when he started using all those balls, his hard balls, his freeze balls, his bomb balls. I'm not making this up to be funny. This is just truly just from the comic book.
That's
All
a whole
those.
lot of balls.
Oh yeah, and see, there she is right there. There's Bombshell selling him. She even says, "Settle down, Oddball." But eventually, he is defeated by Hawkeye and Mockingbird, and later on, he was hired again. But again, he came across Hawkeye multiple times and was defeated multiple times. No surprise. And Oddball, let's see. Yeah, I could see him being like that too, Bougie. I could see him being like those old school guys. All right, but Oddball is known to be a member who goes to the bar with no name, and he's frequently seen playing pool with 8 Ball. 8 Ball, somebody I was considering having on the list today when you posted him on Comic Character of the Day the other day, and then it came up, like Oddball plays pool with, or 8 Ball plays pool with Oddball, and then I was like, hey, you know what? All this time, me, Jamie, and Tim had reviewed Hawkeye in episode 48, but that was before we had the F list, so somehow we never put him on the F list. I'm like, so today we're putting him on there. Oddball later joined the Masters of Evil by Dr. Octopus and was eventually defeated. And eventually again he did take on Oddball ambushed Hawkeye as he was disguised as a police officer and tried to start a riot when there were children around, but eventually he was defeated. And finally, Oddball was a contestant in Bloodsport in Manjapur, and he was killed by a headhunter. So
No.
Oddball is dead, so he will not be mingling with the ladies unless he comes back. Now you may be wondering, what are the powers of Oddball? And he technically has none, but he is an expert juggler. And then some of his balls are considered, his weapons. That's how he fights, by throwing all those balls. He has, ready for this, everybody? Oddball, or Elton, has burning balls, hard balls,
I
corrosive
think they have a
liquid.
cream that would help him out with that.
Yeah, those burning balls. Yeah, corrosive liquid inside a fragile ball. He has knockout gas balls, ice balls, smoke balls. They act as smoke grenades, solid rubber balls to cause blunt damage, and spike balls. Yeah, and that for everybody is Oddball. Oh, and another thing, he was one of the enemies in the 1989 video game The Amazing Spider-Man and Captain America in Doctor Doom's Revenge. And take a guess what he throws at the characters. Balls. So that is Oddball. Him and all those balls he has. I mean, the jokes you can make about him are endless. I'm looking at the comments as I see Bougie said itchy balls, blue balls. And hey, yeah, even in the picture, some of them were blue. So yeah. So you were not wrong with those. He does have some blue balls. And Pam says blue balls as well. The jokes with Oddball are endless. And for me, that's why I say that Oddball does not leave the F list. I say he stays, and I don't really think a character like that can get out of the F list. How about you, Dan?
You mentioned 8 Ball, and someone like him, I would have said before, loser, total loser. But then Jed McKay started writing him in Moon Knight, and I'm like, I actually kind of care about this character now. So if a good writer got a hold of him, maybe, because you change the costume where it's not so garish. You keep the name Oddball and you make him kind of like a little screw loose kind of guy.
Yeah, because that's how he got the also named Oddball too, because
Yeah.
he was a good juggler, but he was odd. And
Yeah, so you have that going with it, and you give him a decent costume, and it's like it's pool balls instead of arrows, but freeze ball instead of freeze arrow. I'm just trying to justify this. No, he's a fucking loser, and there's no way that he gets off the F list.
Well, there we go. You tried, and yeah, even look at the comments. See the jokes that don't end.
Yeah, just
So
put
I'll
them
take
in
it
your
back
mouth
with
and
all
suck them.
this. But guys, you know what? I have this book. I know it's not a comic book, but I have this book in Oddball made me think of this. And there's this book called "Do You Want to Play with My Balls?" And it is filled
Why
with
do
jokes
you
like
have
that.
that?
One time I saw it on online, people joked, and because it's full of jokes like that. Blue balls, oddballs, do you want to play with my ball? Stuff like that. So I had to get it. And then today, mentioning oddball, I'm like, I should mention that book. So yeah, so that was a little fun one. But yes, oddball, feel free to have endless amounts of fun with all of the kinds of weapons that he can use. Because as you can see from the pictures, Oddball has many balls, and we both say that Oddball and his hard balls, his spiked balls, his burning balls, his blue balls can stay in the F list.
Where
And
his balls belong.
yeah, and you know what? Speaking of the F list, the other day I was at a comic book shop and I got some comic books. One of them I got was facsimile of X-Men
Nice.
268. I got another facsimile of the Avengers Annual 10, first appearance of Rogue. And I found a comic book with the first appearance of an F lister that we had on the show before, so I had to get it. And it is Howard the Duck, issue number 15, that had the first appearance of the F
Oh,
lister,
Bong, Dr.
Dr.
Bong.
Bong.
Yes, I
Yes.
was on the episode with that one too.
Yeah, so there we go. I got it, and then I was like, well, there you go.
You know
And then
what you need to do now,
it
Sonny?
was
What
$3.
you need to know, you know what collection you need to have where we all have like our little things we collect. You should start collecting the first appearance of all the F listers.
Dan, I am going to be on the hunt for that. I've got a few, so I'll put it on the show. And on the hunt for first appearance of F listers.
Cause I mean I'm sure at some point there's been some that are going to be like pricey just
Big
because
Foo,
they're
probably,
lame
but
characters doesn't mean they're not in pricey books, but I bet for the most part you could get almost all their first appearances very cheap.
yeah. So I'm on the hunt for first appearances of F listers.
Yes.
I've got a few. There was Dr. Bong. I know I got Brown Bomber before. Yeah, so I'll have to get some of those. And I'll, show them on the show. But all right, Dan, we've gone through quite a bit today, and now we finally move to our review of the day.
All right. Do you want me to give the credits like Tim normally does?
It is up to you if you want to or not. Because I know that since Tim is out today, Tim, we do hope you're feeling better. We hope you're having sweet dreams and resting right now. But wait, now me and Dan, we've got a comic book to review. So if you want to do the credits, you can, or I have them right here.
It's up to you. I pulled them up. I didn't know if you had them or not.
I'll just, since I got him, I can say
Okay.
them. Thank you, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Today, we will be reviewing The New Warriors, Forever Yesterday. And Tim is not here, so I will start us off with the credits. The writer is Fabian Nikiza. The penciler is Mark Bagley. The inker is Larry Molstead. The colorist is Andy Yanchus. And the letterer is Joe Rosen. And the editor is Danny Fingerroth. Now,
And
the
it's
new
from it's from New Warriors Volume 1 issues 11, 12 and 13.
Yes, it is. You took the words right out of my mouth. So, yep, it is issues 11 through 13.
Well, I had to have
And we'll start.
somewhere for Oddball to fit his balls.
Man, there's no living him down. But this story doesn't have Oddball. Well, it has Oddballs, but not the character who was on our F list today. But yeah, so Forever Yesterday starts off, and it seems like an alternate timeline. It is the Mutant Liberation Front, but it is a bit different. These are with different characters, more like the New Warriors. A lot of them are part of the Mutant Liberation Front, and they are taking on the Avengers, but it's different. In this world, this is the United States of Assyria. For instance, they're taking on not Captain America, Captain Assyria. And they're taking on characters. So there's a battle immediately, and Wolverine is one of the men. He's leading the Mutant Liberation Front to take on the Avengers, and he's trying to figure out how to. They're going to get plans how to get into the Mega Man Fortress. That's kind of more explained later. But so, like I said, we start off with this battle between the Mutant Liberation Front and the Avengers. Unfortunately, we see Wolverine get killed pretty fast, but he's able to do his part and he gets the information to the rest of the Mutant Liberation Front, who is led by Magneto, to find out where the Sphinx fortress is. But one of the Avengers is Nova, Richard Rider, but Nova he comes across Firestar and he's not too sure about. He's like, all these there's all these mutants. They're supposedly so bad, but yet they never try to kill me. He's questioning a lot, and then when he's with his family, he's visited by Sage, and Sage tells Nova the history of the world of the Sphinx, and gives quite a bit of this history of what's going on, and says the history is not real. I will tell you the real history. And we pretty much go on to the next issue with now the Mutant Liberation Front, which is not like the kinds that are in New Mutants or X Force, nothing like that. No Strife, nobody like that. The Mutant Liberation Front are the heroes, and you got characters like Magneto, and you got Juggernaut, you got Beast, Sebastian Shaw is even on the team.
They got a lot of characters in the Mutant Liberation Front that are not mutants.
Yeah. Yeah, so they do find their way into the fortress, like I said, thanks to Wolverine, and they get into it's called the Mega Man Fortress, and there was even a bit of a shield or something, force field, and Juggernaut gets caught in the back, and it burns him, but even Beast says, hey, I can only imagine what it would have done to somebody else, and at this time, also Sage tells Nova the real history of the Sphinx, and again, the Mutant Liberation Front, they are able to make their way to challenge the Avengers, the ones from Assyria, like I said, led by not Captain America, but led by Captain Assyria. And these Avengers are different. One thing that's different, Nova still himself, he seems like regular Nova, but Iron Man, even though called Tony Stark and Captain Assyria and everyone, the whole team is black except for Nova, and he feels very out of place.
Storm is on the team.
Yeah, so Storm is still on the team, so she's still like regular Storm.
Thor's not there. In his place is Horus.
Horus is a very powerful character who was the one who actually killed Wolverine.
Oh yeah, he messed him up.
But eventually, the Sphinx knows that everyone's coming for her, and she comes out huge, and eventually it is everyone versus the Sphinx. But that's the run through I'll give of this story. I enjoyed it. It's a 3-issue series, so it is not long to read. This was something I had probably even before the Codex podcast began, but just never got around to reading it. Reading all these other stories, collecting other comics, and damn, when you picked it out, I was like, oh, perfect. And I actually even read New Warriors 10 just to get like a regular kind of in the gist of how New Warriors is, and then jumped into this one.
I think issue 10, it was like the last page or two kind of set up this story.
Yeah, pretty much a little bit. Yeah, because it showed the Sphinx.
Yeah,
a bit, but you could jump right into this one, and someone might be wondering
that one.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's Elseworlds, but you find out that it's technically just the world has been changed because of the Sphinx.
Yeah.
For me, I enjoy it. I recommend it. It's 90s fun. It is original. Kind of reminds me a little bit like Days of Future Past, Age of Apocalypse, or it's different worlds. However, this is after Days of Future Past, before Age of Apocalypse, but I find those stories pretty cool. Alternate timelines, things like that.
And even the name of it's funny you brought that because even the name of the first part was Days of Present Past.
Yeah, I was trying to remember exactly. Yeah, so there was as soon as it began, it has, and the words are very big. I do like the artwork. I like the story. I don't like Wolverine getting messed up so fast. That's one thing that always gets me when you have big characters and they're kind of just wiped out fast for a story. And then I thought there was a bit too much on the Sphinx's history, especially for the first part to give, here's the Sphinx's history, and you're going through pages and pages, and then to say, that's actually not what really happened. And then the second one to say, okay, now here's the real one. But overall, like I said, so I thought a little bit of a slower beginning than I thought, but I still enjoyed it. And I'd especially say the third issue when it's the huge battle, and definitely don't mess with anybody's cats. If you're a cat lover, I don't know if you might want to read this one, or maybe you should. The cat is very important to the story, but so the third one for me was the highlight, and for me, always how you finish a story is one thing that's huge for me. So at the end, definitely got quite a bit of points up. I say this is a very good story. I recommend people check it out. I don't think it's a must read, but it's fun. It's Marvel. It's the New Warriors. If you want to check out a good New Warriors story, this is it. But it's not like regular New Warriors because they're different, and it's trying to change, like, the an alternate reality, trying to make it back to how things are regularly. So I would still say to check out some other stories too. But this is a fun one. It's cool to see, like Juggernaut be, Juggernaut and Sebastian Shaw be, heroes, and they're helping out the good guys. So that's interesting, fun. I enjoyed it. I think it's good fun. 3 issues. I, Sonny Kruger, on the Codex Podcast with the Codex Station, give the New Warriors Forever Yesterday an 8.7 out of 10.
That's a very specific number.
I was, going on like a bit of a higher 8, but yeah, I'll go with 8.7. Dan, how about you? I know you've been, you picked this a while ago and everything was kind
Yeah.
of happening, and now we get to review it, and now you finally get to talk about Forever Yesterday.
I picked it, so I think most of us are going to pick a story we like. We either a story we really like or a story that we're like, this is so bad, I want to subject other people to it. This was not the case for that. This is a story I was a huge New Warriors fan growing up, and still am. And this was a storyline that always stuck out with me because it's always fun seeing like the alternate reality versions of characters that you like. It's interesting. Like Marvel Boy is called Marvel Man in this. I thought it was a cool story. I thought that they did deal a lot with going into the past of the Sphinx, but I think it was important to show the fake history and the real history so you could see where the divergence was. But there was a lot that went into that. But at this point too, I think a lot of people reading New Warriors probably didn't know who the Sphinx was. He was a main bad guy of Nova back when Nova was first introduced and had his series in the 70s. And so they brought him back and to fight the New Warriors. And, he became a recurring villain for them, starting with this story. And so, yeah, it dealt with that a little too much, but it was cool seeing all the different characters and
A lot of cameos, so many
a lot of
cameos.
cameos, yeah,
You like cameos? Check this out, yeah.
and seeing that flip where, like you said on the Avengers, where Nova was the only white character, where normally you would see it where it's like a bunch of white characters and then only 1 or 2 minorities. So it kind of flipped that and redesigned some of the character costumes, which was interesting. When I did the interview with Fabian Nicezo, we talked about this, and he said it's Bagley put a lot of work in because he had to like redesign this entire world to fit with this new aesthetic where, all right, the design concepts weren't going to be based on on European buildings, but they were going to be based on like Egyptian ones. So, I thought that was interesting. Mark Bagley, again, this early Mark Bagley artwork, which is just, it's really nice to look at. The printing techniques and the paper at that time weren't great. So, I feel like the artwork could really shine if it was remastered and printed on higher quality paper. But even still,
Yes.
the artwork looks really nice. It's cool seeing the other characters on the Mutant Liberation Front, like that are big ones on it, like Cannonball and Magneto and Juggernaut and some of them. Then like I said, they're not even all mutants because later on you see characters like the Hulk is part of them. Some of the redesigns were not great. Like you saw Cyclops with this like handlebar mustache, but I kind of got the idea with the mustache and the hair that they were trying to give him kind of a look like his father, Corsair.
Yeah.
So it was cool seeing all that. Like you said, the fight scene at the end was a really great one. The one thing that disappointed me most with it was the New Warriors at the time were 6 characters. It was Night Thrasher who put the team together, Nova, Marvel Boy, Firestar, Namorita, and Speedball. Well, in this story, Marvel Boy, who in this is Marvel Man, and Firestar are a couple like they were in the regular stories, and they're two main characters on the Mutant Liberation Front, and then Nova as a member of the Avengers, and then Night Thrasher, because his father works for the Sphinx, so he gets in it. But then Namorita, she's on there for like a panel or two, just as introduced as the cousin to Namor when they're talking to negotiate with the Atlanteans to get their help to fight the Sphinx. So she's barely there. And
Yeah,
then,
that was something too. I
and then
thought you
Speed,
could have got something bigger.
yeah, and then Speedball, you see him for like two panels, and he's not even Speedball. It's just Robbie, and it's like his dad calling him in from, to come inside the house, and that was it. So I would have liked to have seen all the team members integrated into it, integrated into the story. But overall, I thought it was fun. It's an interesting read. Just like I said, like Bougie said, alternate world, Elseworld stories can be pretty interesting. When you so overall, I would give it an 8 out of a 10. An entertaining read. If you like the New Warriors, it's a great read for that too. Like I said, Bagley's artwork is always top notch. And you don't have to read anything before it or anything after it. It helps to know who the New Warriors and the characters are, but it is a self-contained story, and you don't have to have a lot of previous knowledge to get into it.
Yeah, and one thing too, even though it seems like an Elseworld story, it actually you end up seeing that it does go with the continuity. It does go with the story. It doesn't just say, okay, that's a story on its own. It does connect with the New Warriors and the story of what's going on. So
yeah.
So there we go. The New Warriors, Forever Yesterday. Dan gives it 8 out of 10. I give it 8.7 out of 10. So what about you? What do you think of the New Warriors, Forever Yesterday? Have you checked it out? Will you check it out? What do you think?
Go
Let us
read it
know.
and leave a comment to let us know what your rating is.
Yes. So that wraps up our review. And then next week, me, Tim, and Uncle Gary are set to review Deadpool Volume 2, the 4-issue miniseries. And then after that, we're set to be me, Tim, and Sal. And we will be reviewing Spider-Man, The Death of Jean DeWolf.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so we should go check it out. Yeah, and hope you enjoy it. And now, Dan, it's that time when we come to the end of the episode and we tell everybody that they can find us on all of the socials. You can find us everywhere at the Codex Station.
Yep.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah, you can find us on the Codex Station, all the socials. You just check out the codexstation.com. It's got links to all the socials. It's got profiles on us. It's got links to the merch. It's got everything that you could want out of the Codex Station, short of one of us just coming to your house and tucking you into bed and reading a comic book to you as you slip off into night land.
Yes.
But everything else you can get at the codexstation.com.
That is right. Even jokes that aren't true, like calling me a toy crusher. I don't know what that's about.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But yeah, everybody, thank you again for joining us today. Feel free to join us on more episodes of the Codex Podcast, on every video we got for the Codex Station, all the shows we got. Every day you get more stuff from the Codex Station. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment, and join us. Become a member for only 99 cents. And with that, I will say thank you. Take care. Good night.